All right, so now that we have everything set up for us, so we can use the data set in a machine learning model. So which machine learning model are we going to use? There's so many out there. So, well, that is really uh, the whole study, like how do you choose the right model and how do you tweak it and, so many different things that we'll be learning later on. But it always starts out with looking at your data, learning about your data, letting the data, the data set talk to you. It's going to tell you, which way am I going? How is my increasing and decreasing look like, or is just increasing as we are, moving up in the x axis? And so many different things we'll be learning about, later on. Is it even, something where it's a regression or is it a classification? There's so many different things that you're going to need to know about your data set. But one, thing that's normally always true is that you're going to firstly visualize your data. You want to look at it visually, graphically. And remember the library that we imported in the beginning. So we're going to use that so that we can be able to graphically represent our data set. So we'll say PLT, and we'll use a scatter plot so we can put in all the points of the X and Y values, and we can really see how this data is, represented. So that's basically it. PLT.scatter, and then you put the X and then the Y value, and then Shift Enter, and here you go. You'll see that now you have this scatter plot, which is showing you here how this data is moving. Look at this. Look at the way that it's talking to you. It's telling you, like, look at me. I'm linear. As I'm going from 0 to 120, I am growing linearly, like this way. You see that? So obviously I chose this data set so it can be a linear data set, so we can have a simple example. So that's when you're going to think to yourself, you know what? Maybe I think that we're going to get the best results if we use a linear model here, a linear model. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Now that we plotted it, now let's apply a machine learning model that's linear. So let's comment saying like use a linear regression model, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say from the sklearn again, and now we're going to choose the model here. From the sklearn, let's choose the model. And the different models here, we have one of them is the linear model. And we're going to say from that, import linear regression. So this is what we're going to be using now, the linear regression model. We'll be speaking more about what this line of code means later on, but let's just use it like that so we don't get too complicated in the beginning. And now let's give this model a name. We'll just say model, right? Or you can just say linear model, lin model, right? Equals to the actual linear regression, an instance of it from this. Now we're going to actually use this and make this linear regression live here in a variable called lin model, right? The linear model, okay? And let's go ahead and run that. And it's giving us an error. It's saying here linear regression is not defined. Now, it's good that this, problem happened because what we want to see here is that oh, well, I need to know how to spell. So regression. There you go. Good. All right. So we got to be careful of our spelling. Obviously, when we're using these libraries, a simple little letter will throw things off. But the good thing, you'll get an error, and you'll know how to change that. So now next, you'll say, you know, that you want to now fit this model into the data that you're going to give it, right? So let's go ahead now. This fit means that go ahead and train yourself now. Go ahead and train yourself. So we're going to give it what? Which X values are we going to give it? We're going to give it the training ones, right? This is the train ones that we set up previously. And then we also need to give it the Y values, but the Y train values, right? So you press Shift and Enter, and there you go. It has now trained itself, and now you got a model that's trained on this data. Very good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and predict something. Let's say Y hat equals to, now what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We say lin model, now dot predict the test set that we had assigned or put aside last time, and it should give us, and they've never seen this test before. They've never seen the values in X test before, right? Because we only gave it X train and Y train, and that's what it got trained on. Now, the X test, right? After it gets, after it predicts it, it should give us the same values as the Y test. And if it does give us the same, that means it learned properly. If it gives us really off, then something went wrong. So let's go ahead and predict, and boom, here we go. Now let's look at what Y hat looks like. Y hat, here you can see that it predicted 143, 29, 106 for the X test that you gave it. So let's see if it was actually accurate or not by looking at Y test, which are the real values for the X test. So just so you can get a refresher that these are the numbers of the claims, and this was the total number, or this was the total payments for the number of claims, 57. So here we're looking at the total payments. Now let's see what Y-test said, meaning the real numbers. Y-test, there you go, look. You have 143 for the first one, and it predicted 152. Not bad. 29 for the second one, and 39. Also not too bad. 106, and here you have 187. So these are the actual predictions that your machine learning model learned, and now you can give it other numbers that it never seen before, and it will also predict it for you. And for example, you can say predict equals to lin model dot predict. Now give it any number that you want. How many claims do you want? 77 claims. Boom. And now you say pred 276 for 77 claims, which kind of makes sense because if you look at, a number that's close to 77, let's say, for example, here you have 60, it was 204, so 276 would make sense, for 77. That's pretty cool. I mean, as a first machine learning model, I think that's great. And, that's something that we can really start with. Now, I want you to go ahead and do the same thing that we did here in these previous tutorials. And after you get that all set up, I'm going to ask you to do something pretty cool, which is to get your own data set and get your own results and see if you can be able to get some good accuracy with your model. Sounds pretty interesting, and I hope you do well. If you have any questions, please do ask and enjoy.